Alright, what's going on, everybody? This is the Street 3 here, back to a brand new video. Today we've got Conference Championship Week, also known as Week 15 of the college football year. Had some great games, really close games all around. Some blowouts, but mostly with some great games. And the college football playoff has been set. So let's go ahead and get our reaction of the scores first. Boise State versus UNLV. Boise State playing not just to get to the conference into the playoffs, but to get a first round bye, and they do so. They win 21-7. Alshon Gentry has 209 yards, 32 rushes, and they beat UNLV handily. It was 21-0 until like the garbage minutes of the fourth quarter. They win the Mountain Conference second year in a row. Army surprisingly blows out Tulane 35-14. They had over 300 total rushing yards. Tulane falls at 9-4 on a somewhat disappointing year, because I'm assuming they wanted to go undefeated and win their conference. They don't. Army, surprisingly, one loss, which was the blowout loss in Notre Dame. Now, there's some people that are arguing that Army should be in over Notre Dame because Army is a conference champion and has one loss to Notre Dame. However, Notre Dame's one loss is to Illinois at home, which is now, I think, a sub 500 team, or not even a bowl eligible team. However, again, Notre Dame did play Army, and when they did, they beat them 49-0. Army, despite a fantastic year, and I love it because I love the military academies, they do not deserve a spot in the college football playoff, period. If they had beat Notre Dame, then they would be in, but they didn't. They got blown out, which would have happened to any other team in the college football playoff, so that is a bit silly. Moving on, Georgia beats Texas in overtime. At the end of the first half, it was 6-9. However, the total yards for Georgia were only, I think, 97. Meanwhile, the total yards for Texas was over 300. Texas had almost 300 passing yards in the first half alone. However, they were unable to score in the red zone, and there were 2 field goals missed. So Texas, despite dominating Georgia pretty much the entire game, were only up 6-9. And at the end of the game, the very last play of the half, Carson Beck goes down, a fumble. Texas player number 0 gets the ball and has the chance to return it back, but instead of juking and going back to the left, in which he would have had a lane, he tries to just do this little shuffle move and then gets caught. So that would have been a big touchdown, because then that would have made it 13-0 instead of 6-0. And then these backup quarterback, who in my opinion honestly is better than Carson Beck, because I think Carson Beck is Georgia's weak point by far and is holding them back all year long. This backup quarterback can scramble pretty well, and Georgia then began to lean on the run game, and they had a commanding third quarter in which Texas could do nothing on offense, and they actually took the lead, 13-6. And then Texas had a decent fourth quarter, still not being able to score until finally getting a touchdown. Then we go into overtime. Now, here's the thing about Texas. I said this last week, and I've said this for a while, and it worked against A&M. Quinn Ewers is a good quarterback. He's hurt, so he's not as mobile. He never really was a mobile quarterback, but he's still a good quarterback, still a good leader, still extremely accurate. So you use Quinn Ewers throughout most of the drive. You use his leadership, you use his accuracy to drive you down the field. Once you get into the red zone, you put Arch Manning, because he is a dual threat quarterback, and it's very hard to adjust for that. Dual threat quarterbacks dominate in college football because they're such great athletes, and because it's not so much about the X's and O's, more about the skill players. Dual threat quarterbacks dominate. So if Texas would have put Arch Manning in on every red zone trip, they would have blown out Georgia. Facts, period, end of discussion. They would have blown out Georgia, and they would be the best. Honestly, I think that if Texas does this and they allow Quinn Ewers to play and then let Arch Manning take over in the red zone, they win the championship, in my opinion. Then they go into overtime. It's whatever. Georgia ends up winning and coming back when they got manhandled the whole game, almost, except for the third quarter. They got manhandled. There were also a lot of questionable calls. Texas had 11 penalties for 94 yards, which were just mistakes. Again, the missed field goals for Auburn is garbage, unless it's in the fourth quarter. And then there were some no calls in Georgia. Georgia is known to hold a lot. The offensive line holds a lot, however, it's not called against them. But that's whatever. Georgia still won, and they won, so everything about it. Then Penn State and Oregon. This was honestly mostly Oregon most of the game. Oregon, I think, had an 18-point lead and 11-point lead twice. But Penn State kept crawling and crawling back. Had a chance to win it, but could not do it. Oregon then runs out the clock, and they win 45-37. The lone unbeaten team in the first year in the Big Ten wins the Big Ten. Texas was trying to win the SEC in its first year, which they should have, but they didn't. Then Clemson and SMU. Clemson plays its way into the college football playoff and beats SMU, a team from the American that were trying to win the ACC for the first time. And it was funny. FSU tried to sue the ACC for muddling the conference and bringing in a small school SMU in the conference. Then FSU goes 2 and 10, and SMU almost wins the playoffs, almost wins the conference in their first year. As you can see, Clemson was up big at the half. It was 24-7. SMU had a 17-point fourth quarter. Now, they tied the ball up. It was going to be in overtime. There were 16 seconds left. And then on the kickoff return, I don't know why they didn't squib it. They kicked it off, and the guy got like a 46-yard return. One play, field goal range, 56 yards, boom, over. That was a heartbreaker for SMU. However, both these teams will be in the college football playoff. Both these teams are very dangerous. Honestly, I think SMU is better than Clemson. I'm going to be real with you. Iowa State and Arizona State. This was not. I suspected Arizona State would win, but I didn't think they'd blow them out. They win 45-19. Arizona State, I'm telling you right now, is the most dangerous team in the college football playoff. If you do not respect them, they will beat your ass. They are a very, very good team. Start off the year unranked, are now in the college football playoff. Now let's go ahead and first check the other bowl games. Obviously, next week we've got Navy and Army. I will not be covering that game, but it is next week. Let's go ahead and check the other bowl games outside the college football playoff. South Alabama and Western Michigan, do not care. Memphis, number 25 at 10-2, will play West Virginia. West Kentucky, James Madison. James Madison had a down year last year. I think last year they only lost one game the whole year. California and UNLV. UNLV surprisingly got into a bowl game, and they're now favored against 24th ranked UNLV. Interesting. Georgia Southern and Sam Houston. Ohio, who just won their conference, will play Jacksonville State. They actually blew out their opponents. Tulane will play Florida. That should be a good game, a really good game. If DJ Lightweight plays, I think Florida will win. If DJ Lightweight doesn't play, I think Tulane will win. Here's a good game, one of the New Year's Six bowl games, I suppose, in Notre Dame for some reason. Oh, sorry, that's college football playoff. Playoff. What's the playoffs? Coastal Carolina playing UTSA. UTSA again not having a great year, only 6-6 on the year after having a lot of success the last 2-3 years. Northern Illinois, again this is the team that beat Notre Dame at home, so they did go 500. They are in a bowl game. They're playing Fresno State, Southern Florida, and San Jose State. And we got Pittsburgh and Toledo. We've got Rutgers and Kansas State. Kansas State, obviously, the Big 12 is going to be really competitive for a long time. And Kansas State has the chance to win one eventually, but I suppose a down year. They'll be playing Rutgers. Should be a win. Arkansas State and Bowling Green. Oklahoma and Navy. I think Navy will win this game. Not going to lie. Jackson Arnold, the quarterback for Oklahoma, is requesting a transfer, so he probably will not play. Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt. I think Georgia Tech is about to beat the absolute shit out of Vanderbilt. That's my prediction right there. Texas Tech and Arkansas. That should be a good one. Down to the wire, I think. Syracuse, Washington State. I think Syracuse will win this one. A&M and USC. I think A&M will win this one pretty handily. USC had a very unfortunate and very disappointing year. I think at one time they ranked the top 10, and they are now not even ranked and barely made the bowl game at 6-6. UConn and North Carolina. UConn, one of those teams that almost doesn't even have a football team. They're bowl bound. They're 8-4. A big year for UConn. However, they are not favored, obviously, against North Carolina. North Carolina, Matt Brown, I think, is not returning to the team. Unfortunate. Nebraska and Boston College. Nebraska 6-6. However, I think they're on the upward trend, and will be good in years to come, and might even be competitive in the Big Ten. Louisiana Tech playing TCU. Louisiana Tech 10-3, a good year on them. However, they are not favored against TCU. Iowa State and Miami. Miami is not the college football playoff, you guys. They did not make it in. They had a very disappointing end to their season. From being in the top 3 undefeated, now not in the playoffs at all. Just outside at number 13. Because if Clemson would have lost, then they would have been in over Alabama. But Clemson wins, they gotta get in. Poor Miami, they'll be playing Iowa State. I think Miami will win this game handily and will prove that they deserve to be in there. I think they're gonna do really good in this game. Miami, Ohio versus Colorado State. As we all know, Colorado State deep rivals with Colorado. However, they got smacked. They had a disappointing year, I think. East Carolina, NC State, and then we got BYU, also a disappointing year. They were in the top 10, and then dropped, I think, 2 out of 3 games in the season, and didn't even make the conference championship. They'll be playing Colorado, so 2 teams in the Big 12 will face off in the Valero Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, Texas. I might go to that game, honestly. Well, I won't go to that game, but that'd be cool. Sanders and Travis Hunter will be their last game. I think Colorado will win this game here. Marshall and Army. Army will probably blow out Marshall. So you know, Marshall is the very popular school that had the accident with the plane crash, and in the movie Remember the Titans, Randy Moss is from Marshall. Doesn't seem to have a spread for that one. Whatever. Iowa and Missouri. I think Missouri will clean up that game and finish 10-3. Last year they finished with 2 losses. This year with 3 losses in a very competitive SEC. Alabama, number 11, but not in the college football playoff. Just outside. They'll be playing Michigan. I think they're going to beat the shit out of Michigan, honestly. I gotta be real. I think they're going to be pissed. Coach DeBoer's going to have them ready to play, and they're going to blow out Michigan. It's going to be ugly. Louisville and Washington. Washington and Louisville both had a very disappointing season, both in the top 10, top 25 at the beginning of the year. I think Louisville might even have been in the top 10 at once, but both not ranked anymore. South Carolina. Many people were arguing that they should be in the college football playoff, and they are an excellent, excellent team, and they're going to be very dangerous. Sellers, their quarterback, will probably be a Heisman favorite in years to come. They're playing Illinois, who also had a great year at 9-3. However, I think South Carolina is going to play pissed, and they're going to win a proof of point, and they're going to beat Illinois pretty handily here. Baylor and LSU, both LSU had a disappointing year. They got a great start. Well, I guess they actually lost to USC. That was a bad start, and then they picked it back up, beat A&M in the top 10, and then everything went downhill from there. So in somewhat way, disappointing year. We'll see if they can pick it back up against Baylor. This should be an easy win. Baylor is not a good team. Let's see, and that is the other bracket. Let's see what else we got. Duke and Ole Miss should be an interesting game. Duke, another one of those teams that people thought should be ranked, but they're not. They had some quality wins. Really good team. Almost beat Miami as well. Versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss is probably going to be favored, but don't count on Duke. They have Malik Henry, who was the transfer from Texas. He's a good quarterback. Duke is a solid team. They could pull out the upset against Ole Miss, but probably not. North Texas versus Texas State. Minnesota and Virginia Tech, Buffalo, and Liberty. Liberty had a down year, honestly. I think they went undefeated last year at 8-3 this year and did not win their conference champion. Did not even play in their conference championship, I don't think. Well, they lost. I can't be certain. But that is all the other bowl games. Let's go ahead and now go into the. Let's first go into the stats. Talk about the Heisman favorites. Obviously, Gentry is now, look at this, 800 ahead of anyone else. He should be the conscientious number 1 Heisman candidate. I don't even think Travis Hunter should be number 2. I think number 2 should be Dylan Gabriel. I think if Gentry, Dylan Gabriel, then Hunter. But it's been a topic of heated debate about who should be between them. Obviously, it's Gentry. Now let's go to the official bracket and see. First year, the 12-team playoff, who we got. Let's start. Texas was projected to be right about here, but they got beat by Georgia. They are now the 5 seed and will be hosting 12 seed Clemson, who just got in with a hand on chin by beating SMU. Personally, we'll be picking. I thought I could do it myself. I will be taking Texas to beat Clemson at home. Arizona State, from not being ranked, you guys, they're being projected to be towards the bottom of the Big 12. It's now the winner of the Big 12 in their first year with the dissolution of the Pac-12. And not only that, but they are the 4 seed and they get a bye. What an amazing year for them. Kudos to them. Let's see. Then we got Tennessee and Ohio State. Ohio State having a disappointing year. They've lost to Oregon by 1, and then lost by 3 to Michigan at home, and probably one of the most embarrassing performances in the history of Ohio State. And they are now an 8 seed versus Tennessee. This is a toss-up. Either way it could go. Personally, I think Tennessee is going to win this game. I'm going to be real with you. Then they'll play Oregon. Then we've got SMU and Penn State. SMU, unfortunately, both teams lost their conference championship. Now trying to save their season, save face. Personally, I don't know. Honestly, at first when we saw them play Oregon, they were getting their ass whooped, and I thought Penn State is not a very good team. And then they crawled back and proved that they can hang with anyone. However, I think SMU, Penn State's favored by 8. I think SMU could pull out the upset here. I really do. Boise State with a bye is insane. I love that Boise State is back to the prominence. Indiana and Notre Dame. Indiana's lone loss is to Ohio State, where they got blown out. They will play Notre Dame, and I am picking Indiana with the upset, quote unquote upset here, to beat Notre Dame. Again, these games right here are going to be hosted by the higher seeds. So Ohio State hosting Tennessee, Texas hosting Clemson, Penn State hosting SMU, and Notre Dame hosting Indiana. So I'm picking Texas, the home team to win, Tennessee, the away team to win, SMU. No, I don't know. That's a toss-up right there. Screw it. I'm going for it. I'm picking SMU with the upset, and I'm picking Indiana with the upset. So then we got Texas and Arizona State. Obviously, I'm a Texas fan. Excuse me, guys. Hey, hush. It's my dog barking. If you can hear that, I do apologize. Let's keep going here. Nothing I can do about it. I probably should put on my mic, but let's keep going. Distractions. Let's go. Texas will then upset Arizona State. Again, these games will now be hosted, not a home game, but at locations. These first games are home games. Texas will beat Arizona State and end their season. Tennessee playing Oregon. I don't think Tennessee has a shot. Oregon will win. Gosh. Boise State will beat Penn State or SMU. And then Georgia will beat Indiana or Notre Dame. And then Georgia will beat Boise State. So in the Final Four, we will have Boise State and Georgia, Texas and Oregon in the Final Four. And then Texas will upset Oregon, and Georgia will beat Boise State. And for the third time this year, Georgia and Texas will face off, two SEC teams, and Texas will finally get its revenge at the end of the year and beat Georgia in the national championship game, and Texas will be national champions. And that is my predictions. So it's been a great year, one of the greatest years in college football in recent memory. People talked about, oh, the 12-team playoffs going to be the same teams over and over. It's going to be too easy to get in, blah, 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 blah. But these brackets were decided on the very last week in conference championship games. Clemson was not supposed to be here. Arizona State not supposed to be here. SMU not supposed to be here. Boise State, Indiana, they were not supposed to be here, but they are. This is one of the best years. The 12-team playoff bracket is amazing. I personally like it. I didn't like it, but I love it. I think it's much better than the 4 seed. And it's been a great year of up and downs, great year of upsets. Dynasties has fallen this year. New teams. Arizona State might be a good team for a long time. Same with SMU. They might be a mainstay here in the conference college football playoffs. But it's a great year. Very excited. This is why college football is so much better than the NFL. I think NFL is one of the worst professional leagues in the entire world. I think it's super boring. I call it the no fun league. No point watching it. Not even the Super Bowl, honestly. College football is much, much better because of the atmosphere, the way the players play, and just the upsets are crazy. Anyways, great year. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content. Again, I'm trying to get to gaming videos. Trying my best to think about what I want to do. Actually do it. So we'll see what happens. But excited for the bowl games and for the college football playoff. It's going to be awesome. I think I'm going to do these games first, and then once we get to the Final Four, so I'll do all these games here as a reaction, and then I'll react to the Final Four teams. That being said, though, again, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more content. This is Easter 3 signing out. As always, stay frosty.